Folks, we back again another Tuesday, Creative Financing with JB. I got my man Nick on with us this week. We're gonna start talking about entrepreneurship. We're gonna talk about folks that then stepped out there, got into the game, started their business, made the step to just building their family wealth and stuff. Like we always talk about, everybody you got to be able to take that road of jumping out, see what it's like, what it feels like. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about that. We're going to meet some folks that's out there that are doing it. They're really relying on those customers to come and support them and do it. But most of all, people ask, how do you get started? What do you do? And go from there. But I ain't gonna run my mouth like I usually do. So, but I'm gonna let Nick introduce himself, tell us a little bit about him, how he got started in his business. I mean, what he was doing, and go from there. So, Nick, if you just give us a quick breakdown. I mean, how did we get started? Entrepreneurship. You just went out there. I mean, what happened? Tell us a little bit.
So I've been in the industry 15 years. Last 10 I was working for people, and I decided, I want to go on my own. I want to jump for it. I want to do something. I was tired of working for people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you get beat down from the people, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this the rest of my life working for somebody. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided to take the loop, and been in business for 5 years now, and it's been great, man. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit what you do in your business.
so we do, spring cleanups, uh, monthly maintenances, uh, grass cutting, mulching, pruning, uh, basically whatever I can get my hands on. If I ain't scared to do.
Mm-hmm.
If the customer asks, "Oh, hey, can you do this?" If I don't know how to do it, I'll look on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. And be fair on the price, and just ain't scared to do anything, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's good. Being able to research, being able to do it, for it and stuff, for it. And Nick, what area do you cover in your landscaping services that you offer, around?
So we cover most everything in Wilmington, Hocassin. Sometimes I do go out to Pennsylvania
Mm-hmm.
and Middletown,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Dover, Newark.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's not too far. If it's like a 3 hour drive, if it's worth it, I'll take it.
Right. Tell me the most challenging thing you see in the business right now and stuff.
Right
Um,
now, I want to say the competition, man, is out there.
mhm.
There's a lot of competition out there. It's getting tough because some of the guys are undercharging, and it makes it you know hard for us. That ones that are licensed and insured. It's
Right.
But like I said, I try not to pay attention too much. Just try to give everybody the best quality, and treat their homes like if it was mine.
Right. And so, Nick, with that out there, everything's competition. We got a lot of folks out there trying to figure out, how it happens, and how they gonna be able to um get in the business and stuff. But I mean, starting out, I mean, what was your first thought process on that? You've been working for folks for a while, and you just said, hey, how did you start out to really start developing relationships and clients?
Um, so I use the Next Door app. I don't know if you heard of that.
Mm-mm.
Uh, it's something like for like neighborhoods.
Okay.
So I started in my wife's minivan. Uh,
Right.
I got the first call. I threw the push mower in there and blower and went to do the first house, and then from there it was pretty much history, man. People start recommending me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was using the minivan for a while till I saved up some money to get a truck, and
Mm-hmm.
got a little truck, and then started like that, and then moved on, to bigger things.
Mm-hmm. 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 And stuff. So you start out small. You kind of figured out, hey, this what it is. You probably had to figure out what type of equipment you needed and
Yeah,
was gonna.
and how to kind of price things out. Try to be fair, because sometimes when you first start you try to be the minimum so you can get people, but
Right.
then it can hurt you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. When you say hurt you, I mean hurt you in an aspect where people don't want to pay you for your worth, I guess, of
yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah, don't want to pay, or you don't, you might mess up and underestimate your work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of, you got to make sure you charge right, because if not, then you're out there working for free.
Right, right, right. And tell me, you have a team or, how does that work for you if you get too busy?
Yeah, if I get too busy right now, I got two guys working, but if I get a little too busy where it's too much for us, my wife will come out and help, or we try to look for guys to help us here and there when it gets too busy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
usually we work pretty fast and get it all done.
Get it done and for it and stuff. Wow,
Yeah.
that's good, and tell me the best part of your business and everything of being in there. And we got a question up there already. Being as though landscaping season is here, what other services do you offer?
Uh, we offer gutter cleaning, snow removal. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much it that I do. During the off season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
Okay.
if they have anything else, like I mean, if they have something to paint, I do. Like I said, I do whatever just to get my hands on something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's good. That's good that you kind of master some things because we know in the off season you have to do something to keep the money coming and stuff. And just being in business on your own, nigga. What's your? I know my biggest scare is customers. Finding the customers that I need that's gonna see my abilities to go out there and excel and do these great things out there. What's your biggest challenge besides the competition, for it?
Right now, it's like I said, just trying to stay busy. Like you say, get customers, because sometimes the phone don't ring all the time. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
you gotta advertise and do all the stuff you can do to try to pull in the customers. Or
mm-hmm.
sometimes if I'm in a neighborhood mowing and I see somebody's grass is big, I'll knock on the door and ask them if they need their grass cut.
Mm.
Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, but I don't give up from trying.
Right, right. So, folks, you see it here firsthand that sometimes we got to take steps to get to the next level of where we need to be. Like Nick's talking about knocking on doors. To make sure we fulfill those things. Entrepreneurship is a very, very 24/7 hour job. We perform at a high rate, to get things done. When people on vacation, we working. When we on vacation, we working, you
Yes.
know, for this stuff. And it's so important that we take it serious. And Nick, I just, doing all this stuff and keeping track and, getting business you know, and cutting the lawns and stuff, how do you even evaluate what areas you're gonna do it, or do you just say, hey, I'm just gonna go knock on doors every day?
Um, we have a good system right now. I got everything down to the schedule, But like I said, once we start getting slow, if I'm in a neighborhood and I see, that we're pretty, we got a lot of houses in there, I'll have my guys mow and I'll start knocking on doors.
And that's a good that's a good testimony of what you're doing in this whole landscaping business. Tell me about your snow removal and
So,
everything.
so right now, I just do residential. Um, I don't do too much, because we haven't had too much snow. So like the last 2 years been pretty good, with the little storms that we had.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
uh, usually, if we can use a snow blower on the driveway, we will. If not, if we have to do everything by hand, we'll do everything by hand. And we offer the service for salt or calcium, depending what they have. If they have concrete, we have to use calcium, because if you use rock salt on the concrete, eats it up.
Oh wow, wow. So what is calcium?
It's just like chemical, like little pebbles that
Mm-hmm,
helps melt the ice or snow at a
mm-hmm,
certain temperature. All depends. It goes by numbers. The lower number you got, is the least amount it's going to do. The higher number you go, it's going to melt it faster.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's good to know, because we know everybody go out there and buy this. I don't even know what I buy. I guess I buy salt, when I go
Yeah,
out
yeah.
and buy
You got to
salt. But
watch now too, because they came out with a blend with rock salt and calcium, but you still can't use that on, you can't use the blend on the concrete because it eats it up and starts chipping it up. But if you
mm-hmm,
got blacktop, you can use rock salt and nothing won't happen.
mm-hmm. After you acquire a customer, how long is the turnaround for the next cut
Uh,
usually?
I usually try to stay, weekly. We do have some like during like this time and slow, we'll switch over to like it all depends on how your grass grows, but I try to do, every 5 6 days, from the last cut, weekly. But
Mm-hmm,
depending on your grass, we might tell you, hey, we'll be out in the next 10 days, all depending on how fast it grows. But some houses it starts slowing down, so it might be 15 days or more until we come and cut it because of the growth.
mm-hmm. And folks, we just want to put Nick's information. If y'all looking for some services of this, Nick has a number 302-521-2665, or send him an email to Nick Landscaping Services LLC at outlook.com if you need these services. We know some folks out there that probably have some services that they need done, some investors that's out there looking for some services that you need done for your lawn care, your home care, and stuff like that for it. And that's great. And so Nick, do y'all do like if you're having new grass laid down, I mean, do y'all provide those services as well?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do. For sod laying,
Mm-hmm.
topsoil seeding. Right now is the best time to do top seeding, overseeding.
Yeah, yeah, and like they said, all the rain we had during this time, we know the grass was growing and stuff like that, for it. But it's just amazing how this stuff stays up. I see the folks do it all the time. I don't know how to do it and keep that stuff green, and maybe it's a secret to keeping your lawn green and stuff like that, and of stuff that y'all do for that a lot of folks probably don't even know about those services.
Yeah, it takes a lot of maintenance. You always got to keep watering your grass, uh, fertilizing it, making sure you're putting stuff down for to beat the weeds. It
Hmm.
takes a lot of maintenance to keep a yard nice and clean and nice and green.
Yeah. So how do you manage weeds? You see some people they can't never grow green grass without all these weeds.
Yeah, that's the tough part. It's always you're always fighting against the weeds, so you gotta make sure you're on top of the applications because you miss, one application, it can ruin the whole thing.
Mm, mm. And how many applications do you have to do for? We got a question there. How do you recommend for a weed eater? Do you have a recommendation for a weed eater?
So I like steel. Uh,
Mm,
they got a nice, nice power to them.
mm-hmm,
Uh, but the only thing is their equipment is a little heavy, and you want something that got enough power, but it's a little light. So we use Echo. It's a lot. They're a lot lighter. They do have some power to them, so it's a lot easier. To handle all day. I say you won't get as tired as you handle with the steel. It's heavy.
mm-hmm. What is steel? Is that a piece of machinery or is that a
Yeah,
product?
yeah. It's a how would you say, like a company name, I guess, yeah, like for equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's recommended. It's a good company.
Oh
Just
wow, wow.
just as Echo is a good company too. So a lot of people like to use steel weed whackers and Echo blowers.
Mm,
Echo blowers. They're powerful, but my recommendation is I like steel. I think they got a lot more power than Echo. But like I said,
mm,
their stuff is a lot more heavier.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and how I mean, I guess over your time of doing this, how do you find that equipment that works best? You're in business, you gotta have long term. I know the stuff's expensive,
Yeah.
to
Um,
afford it. So how do you do that?
Mostly just trying out new stuff. Before I buy something, I look at the reviews, and then like let's say if I try to go with like Xmark is another company I've used before, but
Mm-hmm.
it's odds and ends like everything. So I check it out first, the reviews, and then I might buy it, and then you know I'll say, oh, I don't, if I like it, if it's good for me. If not, I just use it until we're get the wear and tear out of it, and then I know next time not to buy it again.
Mm-hmm. Tell me this: rototillery the ground. I know folks say that we should consider rototilling the ground. For tell me your thoughts on that.
Uh, all are you talking about like aeration? Instead
Yes.
of aeration, yeah, that's really good, man. It's really good for the soil. Lets new like gives better nutrients to the grass. So it's good always to do that at the uh, October, November. That way you have
Mm-hmm.
good airflow through your grass nutrients. The water gets in there better. So that way next year
Mm-hmm.
you got a better growth for your grass.
Mm-hmm. So what does that do? It just digs up. Isn't aren't you tearing up your grass when you do that, or?
No, no, it's just like an airflow. Let more air and all and water get better, basically better like food for the grass. They come out like it like throws out like little nuggets out from like
Mm-hmm.
the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
Oh,
lets
okay.
lets it breathe better and get better uh you know food like water and all that stuff. So that way next year it grows better.
Mm-hmm. If somebody, we just had the question, if somebody's, what advice do you have for someone trying to start a lawn care business? I mean, what would you tell them, you know, to think about or consider before they get into it?
Um, to be honest, I say go for it. Don't give up because starting a business is not easy. You get it's a lot of stress. might
Mm-hmm.
might throw you down, make you want to shut down, but you just can't give up and keep on trying and learn from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You mess up, next time not to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. What's one of the biggest lessons you think you learned over the years of you doing this?
Um,
Of
I want to say, you know, under pricing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that I would say that's like one of the biggest things, like, because like I said, it hurts you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know, like, next time, oh, I should, you know, take my time when I do estimates, because there's times like you underestimate. We might
Mm-hmm.
think like, oh yeah, it's going to take this, but sometimes it takes more. So now
Mm-hmm.
next time when I get the same job, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go a little bit, a little bit more than less, so that way, I don't underestimate myself.
Right. And when you say underestimate, that hurts you because I guess the people see that price and they think it stays the same for forever.
Yeah. That's very true, and they think that it stays the same, and sometimes the people ask you, oh, why you charge this or that. It's we're in business. The gas goes up, parts go up.
Mhm.
So if we're making the same, all the time and charging the same, we'll be out of business.
Right. For it and kind of go from there, which makes sense of what you're doing um for it and everything. Because you can price yourself right out of a job of what you're doing. Do you repair your own equipment or how does that happen?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we repair our own equipment. I was taking it in the beginning, to a company, to service and get all the stuff done. But then, sometimes they're too busy, and then you have to, you're out without your equipment. And sometimes the customers, they don't want to wait. Some people, you know, do understand, and some people don't. So I decided, to start servicing my own equipment. And if I don't know how to do something, like I said, I'll look on YouTube, watch a couple of videos, and until I get it.
For watch a couple of videos and teach some things and you know what is your biggest lesson that you done learned in this landscaping business?
Uh, Biggest lesson that I learned.
Mm-hmm. Of something that a lot of folks probably don't do when they're getting a stuff cut. If you ask me, I'm just cutting grass. you know, you know,
Right.
and stuff. I don't know if I'm cutting it right. I just know it looks nice with the lines in it and stuff like that. But I mean, it's got to be a technique to it.
Yeah, you never want to go the same. At first when I first started, I would always go the same direction every week, and then you don't want to do that, because the only thing you're doing is just laying your grass down, and it's not getting a good growth in. So every time you come and cut the same week and you go the same pattern, it's just you just laying the grass down. That's all. So
Wow.
you gotta go the different direction, every week, different directions. That way you don't burn out the grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
For it
your
and
blades
stuff.
too. I learned that too. You always gotta have your blades sharpened to get a. It's better for the grass. You get a better cut. Better for your machine. Don't waste as much gas, and you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to double cut. And it all depends on the blade. Like springtime, we'll use a
Mm-hmm.
mulching blade to mulch all the grass up, and then after springtime, I'll switch to a high lift blade where it like sucks up the grass, so that way it doesn't lay down and you get a good cut.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So next question somebody asked, what's your approach? And hi Nicole. Nicole just joined us, folks. How do you think about sustainability, maintaining your business? I mean, what mindset do you have to keep maintaining your business so it can grow?
Um, I want to say, let me see if I can answer this correctly. Uh,
The best way, any way you can, is the right way.
just always looking at other stuff that I can do that can bring, more revenue in, and what, it might help us, might help us grow. Uh,
Mhm.
I watch a lot of videos of other people and say, oh, hey, maybe if I start doing this, it might bring more revenue in, and let us grow more.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us this: do you use organic fertilizers and natural pest control methods, or how do you? What do you use for those things when you're doing that?
Uh, I really don't, to be honest. I really don't do too much, fertilizing. Just like if the customer asks, I'll get some stuff from local like Home Depot, some Scott's weed and feed, but
Mm-hmm.
really don't do that too much because you need a license for the pest.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So
yeah,
anytime you're doing that pest control methods, like for the stuffs in the grass and stuff.
yeah. You need a license for that. But like I said, sometimes if it's like an elderly person asks me, to throw it down, I'll grab the material or they will, and I'll just put it down for them. You just can't put
Oh wow.
too much. You have to read off the bag how much you can put down to the ground.
Mm. Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, because if you put too much of the fertilizer, you can burn up your grass, kill your grass.
Oh really? Do you? How do you acquire that license? Do you know how to acquire that license for that?
No, I don't. I think you got to take a test. More, I would say it's more better to find a local place that sells like Greenleaf. They sell
Uh huh.
a lot of product out there in Newark. They might be
Mm-hmm.
able to help, you know, people in the right direction to get that license.
Mm-hmm. Um, the question is the eco-friendly landscaping solutions. Do you know anything about that?
What was that?
Uh, Eco-friendly landscaping solutions. So, um, solutions is how can I say it? More homeowners are looking for something more economically affordable for that. Do you
Oh,
provide those services?
if I provide services for home.
Yeah, yeah, like that's economy. I might have a big yard,
Uh-huh.
for, how do I maintain that without it just costing an overwhelming amount of money? For that, do I get that cut weekly? Do I get that cut bi-weekly? You know.
Um, like I say, the best is like I said, I try to tell everybody to go weekly because bi-weekly, the grass is higher. When we got good rain, coming in, the grass grows more, and so we have to charge a little bit more every bi-weekly because it's a lot harder on the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say do everything weekly and maintain. We provide weekly service like maintenance for pulling weeds or pruning.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it really all depends how much your stuff grows. But usually I try to go first weekly, and then we see the next week. It can go. Then I say, okay, well let's switch over. You're good to go bi-weekly. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
everything needs to be maintained, because once you stop, that's when everything's gonna get bad, and then a company comes in, they're gonna charge a good amount because it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Do folks ask you for warranties and guarantees for your services, or tell me how that get you? Because some customers, they ask some questions. You be like, how do I guarantee your lawn? For it and stuff.
Um, I never had any. To be honest, I never had anybody ask me. But like I said, I try to treat everybody's house like mine. If
Mm-hmm.
they're not happy with something that we did, I'll come back and do it again, try to fix the problem. If not, give them their money back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you offer? Do you have to get any permits or local licensing to do any of the services you perform?
No, I don't.
Okay, good, 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 good. And tell me, do you offer garden consultations? Like if somebody call you up, say, "Hey, I want you to look at my property and tell me what you recommend,"
Yeah.
and stuff.
Like I said, we'll go out. We'll go out there and give you a free estimate. And like I said, I like to be honest with everybody. I'll let you know what are my thoughts on it, and try to give you some recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me this. So when you go to a console, I mean, what are you really looking at to determine what services you're going to offer to them?
I take a look at everything, the whole property. If I
Mm-hmm.
When I pull up to a property, even though you tell me I'm just looking for bush trimming, and if I see weeds, or you need mulch, or uh, you know your grass needs cut, I'll try to throw a whole package together,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
see if they go with it, or ask them what their thoughts is on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is one of the most challenging encounters with the customer, if any, you had?
Um, I want to say I had a customer that would always ask me a lot about her grass, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or other things that, I was coming just to provide a weekly mowing service. And I think I was spending a lot of time with her. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I wasn't trying to be, rude or anything, but, it was like, you know, causing a lot of time on my end. And I just told her, like, if she was asking me a lot of questions about other stuff that wasn't even about mowing.
Mm-hmm.
I had to tell her, hey, uh, and I always get a lot that, a lot of people like try to want their grass mowed short, and that's, it's not good for the
Mm-hmm.
lawn. You're going to burn out the lawn, and then, you're going to come to me and tell me, oh, hey, you burnt my grass. And I'm trying to tell, I let my customers know that, you know, you want to always be cutting that between 3.5 and 4, nothing lower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? Cutting between 3.5 inches
Yeah,
or more?
yeah, inches or more. And so you don't want to do anything less than that, because you'll hurt the grass, and
Mm.
leaves a lot of clumps in the yard, and then you're out there, cleaning all the clumps up, and some of that stuff, when you got too much, all that stuff dries in the heat, and leaves bald spots, so it's not good for the grass.
Mm. So if I leave dead grass there, that'll leave bald spots. You're talking about in the grass?
Yeah,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
you want to make sure you either break it up or blow it blow it around. That way it spreads evenly. So that way, if you got like a patch of grass like this big, you leave it in the lawn, with the heat and stuff, it's killing the grass. It's not letting the other grass come back up. So you get a lot of bald spots there.
Right, right. Wow, wow. That's real good to know. Because I see that a lot of time in some grass where it look like it's dirt right there. For so somebody asked, do you consider yourself a landscaper designer, like where you can do designs and stuff like that in grass, or
Uh, I haven't really got into designs. Like I said, I'm slowly, moving in, step by step. But it's more like mulching and pruning and trimming and just grass cutting. I really haven't
mm,
gotten. I mean, if they have some like if they have a rock wall that's falling down or something, I'll try to take care of it. Fix it, put it back up. Rebuild the wall or fix the pavers. But
mm-hmm,
I haven't gotten into all design yet.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So somebody asked, so what would you consider your specialty? Um,
My specialty, I would say mowing. Uh, I got that down to the notch.
right, 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 right.
That's the best thing, and trimming, and mulching.
And mulching, and mulching. So that's more of a that's more creating like a modern design there. I take it for landscaping.
Yeah.
For yeah, is it a way to get rid of weeds permanently, or
Now
is it?
you'll have that every year. Just because of the rain. Like I said, it's mostly to do with a lot of maintenance, man. A lot of just keeping up with it. Uh, that's another thing. I had a customer one time tell me, you know, she thought that she was never supposed to get weeds again. I said, no, that's impossible. Weeds come up all the time, and with rain and
Mm-hmm,
the heat, you say it's just you have to keep maintaining it. Make sure you're pulling the weeds. Um, I've used a chemical called Preem. Uh, Sometimes it works, but I get when you get too much rain, it doesn't help. So, like I said, I
mm-hmm,
don't really recommend it too much. And then the other thing is uh, pulling the weeds by hand or Roundup. But I know a lot of people don't like to use it because it's bad. Uh, you got to watch with how much you put down. Because you can kill your plants, your bushes, if you get some on it.
mm-hmm. So I think Kurt, my man Andre Curtis, he was on the thing. How many years have you been in business? He asked.
5 years.
Mm-hmm. 5 years. 5 years stepping out on that entrepreneur scale, getting his feet wet, understanding the business. Going out and digging his feet in the grass. He said, "Why does grass die during the winter? What's the reasoning behind that?"
Oh, because it's cold. You don't have no heat for it to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
the grass freezes up. So you need warm temperatures for the grass to grow.
right, right, right. Also, you got to have that weed because people probably see the water and the grass getting water and everything, and go from there. Chuck said, "I use surgical gloves when I use weed killer." Is that? Do you think that's a good recommendation?
Yeah, always to use gloves and a mask, a
A
3M
mask.
mask. Yeah, and make sure you got safety glasses on.
Mhm. Why is that? Just in case you get in your eyes or.
Yeah,
Um,
see, a lot of people like to spray. They might not think of it. Regular homeowners, but it's windy. Sometimes we get some wind. you can be spraying and that blow back to your eyes. So I got a little trick where I cut a Gatorade bottle, and I cut it like halfway, like this much, and on the lid I put an X on there. I put a slit in it, and I put that over the nozzle of the sprayer, so that way it's only spraying to the weed, not it's not having any overspray go everywhere.
Yeah. So Curtis says, shame you're not in Jersey because I'm probably going to have to replace my landscaper. It's just little things that are not tentative to the kind of irks me, and I have to consistently repeat for him to cut front yard at the highest level and the backyard at the lowest level. My previous landscaper retired after 10 years, and Kurt, he might be available, to come check that out. So you see Nick's number going across the screen, folks, 302-521-2665, or send him an email at Nick Landscaping Services LLC at Outlook.com. So you might can utilize those services that he offers, for it. He also does interior work in the wintertime, as he was talking about painting and stuff to that effect. He's able to do as well.
Yeah,
um
even junk removal too. Uh, like I said, I've been offering that service during the summertime. Hit a couple
hmm
times, when we're slow. So thank God it hit a
hmm
couple of times. But like I said, if they got junk removal in the wintertime,
hmm
I'll do it. And like I said, I'm always looking to expand my services. So if he wants to give us a call, I'll be gladly to come out there and check
yeah,
out his.
yeah, give him a call. He right there by the bridge too, so that's not hard. Somebody also asked, are dead leaves harmful to plants or soil? When you have them,
What was that?
are dead leaves harmful to plants or soil? Like when plant leaves, are like the leaves that come off the tree, are they harmful to plants and soil? Do you
Oh,
know?
no, no, no. That's a great. How would they call? It's a good. It's a good fertilizer. A lot of people, mulch up their leaves and then they put it in their, flower beds for good nutrients. Even,
Mm,
a lot of people will chop up, mulch up leaves and, with the grass clippings, if they bag everything up and mulch it, they use it as nutrients for their plants for the wintertime. So
right, right.
it won't harm anything.
Wow. Do you do any clean outs? I have a cousin that has a house fire in Philadelphia right off of Broad Street, and she's going to need a clean out.
Yeah, like I said, that's another service we're looking to expand is junk removal. So like I said, I'll be gladly to take anything you got.
Perfect, perfect. So y'all see Nick's number going across the screen, 302-521-2665. You'll be definitely getting a call, you said right there, Nick. We might have a customer for you that's looking for some services that you can offer.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm glad to take
for
anything. I'll be more than happy to come out and give free estimates.
Right. And they said, what's the difference between drip irrigation and sprinkler systems? Do you?
Uh, the sprinkler, it's gonna throw more water out. Uh, with a drip line, you're gonna get that nice slow leak right to the plant. So it's a lot better than drowning it in a lot of water.
Mm,
Because
mm-hmm.
if you give too much water to your plants, you can also kill them too. Because too much water.
Right, right. Folks, and that's good to understand, Give Nick a call. Reach out to him, 302-521-2665, or send him an email, Nick Landscaping Services LLC at Outlook.com. We're coming up on the end of the summer. We're in the fall right now. We start preparing, and Nick was talking about earlier, preparing your ground for the winter and stuff like that. And I mean, you might have those services you need him to come out to come check out with your removal of items as well. Mulching for it. So you can have someone that's able to provide you with some expertise with those services and to reach out for offers and just for. Can you put his email in the chat? Yes, his email's coming across. Nick Landscaping Services LLC at outlook.com. So yeah, Nick, you should get some emails, some phone calls, to see if we can get your business out there. It was so fun. I met Nick at the SBA convention we had in Dover for all small businesses, and seeing him out there, and I like, we got to promote these businesses that we have and these services that we offer for, and people know about it. People have to have the ability to kind of research and who they feel the job and know about the services, because I know people have a hard time finding some services at time, Nick.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
if we don't if we don't let folks know what's available, what you're doing out there, that kind of can hinder the growth of the business. This entrepreneurship, folks, we learn about getting into building our business and stabilizing it, and Nick's in the business of stabilizing his business, growing his business. He has two employees right now that works with him. And he's growing up. As he gets bigger, he would like to hire more folks to go out there, depending on the set of work. So I mean, we have to think about this in entrepreneurship. It's a 24/7 job, as I said earlier, and we have to have the resources available. And they tell us something that you think your business stands out above all others. Why does Nick's services exceed probably other landscaping services that other people might provide?
Like I said, we try to do our best, man. We always try to do 100% job, good job. And I think that's what stands out the most, because some people, they said, don't do too much of a good job, but like I said, we try to keep it, like, treat her as our own,
Mm-hmm.
and make
Mm-hmm.
sure we don't leave no mess behind. We come and cut the grass, we make sure all the grass clipping is cleaned up.
Yeah, for it and stuff, and that's good. And as Nick said, he stand behind his work. You call him something wrong, he's coming back. He's providing a service that for it, and go from there. And Nick, somebody asked you, how far will you travel for service? Do you do the whole state of Delaware, Jersey, PA? I mean, let the folks know, because somebody just asked me. They must have just joined.
Yeah, like I said, like I said, I'll service anywhere, you know, even if it's a 2 or 3 hour drive. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to grow and I'm looking to expand. So you gotta take anything that gets out there, because that might be your chance to to go big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go big, understand the whole realm of the business, and this entrepreneurship, folks. This is growing the business. This is stabilizing your income. For we see a lot of companies out here not able to stay in business, so we have to develop stuff that's going to build our legacy, our wealth during the years. For Nick started a landscaping business. We talking about 5 years, and he's still pushing forward to get stuff done. He's still offering services. He's still responsive if you need the services, for it. So, he's giving free estimates. Why not? Why not utilize the services? When you don't have time to mulch and cut your grass maintain your lawn and stuff like that and provide those services. As he continued to expand his services, y'all just go ahead and y'all have his number, y'all have his email out here. I'm gonna keep it going down the bottom of the screen. Nick Landscaping Services LLC at outlook.com. And also his phone number is gonna be 302-521-2665. These are businesses, these are things that we need to do for we can continue to move forward. I encourage everyone, if you're into entrepreneurship, understand that we have some goals to reach out here. And guess what? It comes through high motivation, continuous work, and just digging and grinding it out for it. And man, I'm so thankful for Nick that I got a chance to bring him on. I wanted to spread the word that he's providing a service that's excellent and outstanding,
And
and
I'm
that folks can reach him.
I'm thank you for having me, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I want to say, even if you guys got a HOA commercial, we're looking to start getting a lot of HOA in there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
please give us a shout.
Yeah, so if you got commercial, if you're in the subdivision and y'all got an HOA and y'all looking for those services, Nick's available, to even consider managing those services and seeing that, you have another resource for it. Nick's talking about he does snow removal. So you wanna look at that service as too that he's able to provide for y'all folks as well, and and get it going. So folks, it's always a opportunity out here. I'm encouraging y'all that y'all see the resources, y'all see the folks that's getting out here and performing tasks and services for the community, and making it affordable. As Nick said, he don't outprice himself. He gives a fair price, so he don't um, price low or overprice a job. He wants to come and look at it. Give him a call at 302-521-2665, or send him an email at Nick's Landscaping Services LLC at outlook.com. And so you can get a chance to see his work, and Nick probably can show you some pictures of some work he did in the past, so you can see and value his work for. And Nick, do you have where they can view some of your work that you have done, or when they call you for a consult, how would that work?
Yeah, they can look us up on Google under Nick's Landscaping Services LLC, uh, and they can look us up the same way on Facebook.
Oh,
Everything's on.
wow.
We're on Facebook. We got all. I try to post daily all the projects that we do, and even when we're out in the field and I'm mowing, I'll take pictures and post them. So
Hmm.
all the work is there, and it'll speak for itself.
So Nick's Landscaping Services LLC on Facebook, or Google him, to check out some of his work that he has done. He's setting himself up for success out here, as people can review and see what is happening, and going down the line. But folks, man, another resource, as I tell you, Create Financing with JB is always providing resources and solutions to some of the things you might need out here. So how do we get to do it? We get to do it through these conversations, through these weekly podcasts. And guess what? I'm excited to see everybody win. For this week, we produced another entrepreneur that's out here that's going to be successful. He's going to really meet the challenge to keep growing and build his family legacy here. Next week, we're going to see another entrepreneur that's going to keep getting it growing and watching as the business start to excel. And folks, I thank y'all so much. Nick, I want to thank you for it. And Nick, Kurt had what forms of payment do you accept? Do you take Zelle?
Uh, right. Not Zelle, but we take Venmo and check right now. I'm looking in the process, to get for all credit cards set up. Uh, but the bank that I use for business doesn't have, Zelle set up.
Okay. So that's a good thing, folks. Cash always works too, people. You know, so,
Yeah, cash is king.
cash still works too. So, folks, you heard it here first. This is another episode of getting things done, finding the resources you need to make it happen, and we're gonna do it every week until we done. Nick, thank you so much for attending with us tonight, for stepping in. As Chuck said, cash rules everything around me. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So
so we're
cash
gonna
is
go
king.
ahead and thank you. I need to show receipts of when I'm spending my money, especially for my property. Absolutely, Kurt. We gotta show you. You're gonna get them receipts for it. So folks, another week, another great resource. We got Nick's Landscaping Services LLC that's available for you. Reach out, give them a call 302-521-2665. Or we have Nick's Landscaping Services LLC at outlook.com. You got the information. I want you to utilize it. But until next week, this Creative Finance with JB, providing financial services for anything you need in your mortgages, residential, commercial, or financing businesses. We'll see you next week. Y'all have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you again, sir.